Hi, everyone. Welcome back to our HealthTech Medicon Valley event. I hope you had a chance to grab a cup of coffee and settle in. We're now going to go into our second challenge of the day called the rise of digital therapeutics. And again, a number of really exciting pitches coming our way. Just a gentle reminder that if you're watching via Zoom and you would like better video quality or enhanced experience, please visit the Vimeo link where the live stream is also available. You'll find the details in chat, as well as you can ask questions to our speaker via Slido. The details are again in the description under Vimeo or in the chat in Zoom. So I encourage you to go in and participate and ask questions. But to help us get familiarized with digital therapeutics in this session, I'd like to start our very first poll for this session. And what I would like to ask everyone online, and you'll see this on the screen shortly. This is the link to Slido. You can use a QR code as well. The question is, how familiar are you with the concept of digital therapeutics? So a couple of votes coming in, somewhat familiar, not at all. All right, more coming in. This is to really just get a temperature in our virtual conference space about the concept that might not be so well known to too many. So more results coming in. Very familiar, somewhat familiar being the majority. Okay, good to know. We'll then try to make this concrete to also increase our understanding of digital therapeutics. And so what I would like to ask in the next question, which of the following solutions can be considered a digital therapeutic? A platform that connects patients and caregivers virtually, an app that provides personalized recommendations to improve your overall health, a virtual reality-based game that treats ADHD among children, and an app that is shown to improve medication adherence among those with multiple chronic diseases. You are able to choose multiple options, and there are multiple correct answers, but just have a guess. Even if you're uncertain, that's fine. Choose what you think would be considered a digital therapeutic among the 4 options that you see on the screen. Let's just give it a few more seconds for more and more responses to come in. It looks quite equal. All of them look like they could be a digital therapeutic. So let's see. I'm just going to give it another 5 minutes. A platform that connects patients and caregivers, an app providing personalized recommendation for health, a VR game to treat ADHD, and an app to improve medication adherence. All right, fantastic. And before I reveal the correct answer to this question, a bit of suspense there, and to help us frame this whole challenge, it is my honor to invite Ebba Forias, CEO of Smile Incubator, to join me on stage. And we also have Marcus Hergård, Chief Technical Officer of the Bioinnovation Institute, who will be joining us virtually. Welcome, Ebba.
Thank you.
And welcome, Marcus, virtually. So Marcus, I thought that you could start us off. We asked the audience about the different kinds of solutions which be considered a digital therapeutic. And could I ask the technical team to pull up the Slido screen once again so we see the different options? So this is what we all voted on. And just to show what the correct answer would be, is actually the bottom 2 that would be framed within the definition of digital therapeutic. So Marcus, could you help us to define what do we mean by digital therapeutics?
Yes, thank you, Sarah, and thanks for inviting us to be part of this event. Digital therapeutics is not a regulatory category. It's meant to be a category to define kind of clearly what a certain category of digital health products is. And there are a couple of definitions. One is that it needs to be a software product or primarily a software product. The second one, that it needs to be evidence-based product. So it should have some clinical and healthcare efficacy evidence. And the third is that it should be for either prevention, management, or treatment of a condition, of a medical condition. So those are the criteria for a digital therapeutic.
Thank you, Marcus. Very well captured in a nice summary. Ebba, Why do you think digital therapeutics is so important to address when we talk about health tech?
Well, I think, first of all, we have a situation right now where the healthcare is overloaded, and digital therapeutics actually enable to offload some therapies and some treatments from the healthcare system. It also serves to therapies to unmet medical needs or underserved medical needs. It's also quite cost efficient and therefore quite a democratic kind of therapy, which is easily supporting a lot of people that may not get therapies today.
And that's the nature of digital solutions. They tend to be easily scalable as opposed to a pill. Ebba, you and Marcus both represent incubators on both sides of the border in Medicon Valley. Could you share a bit more about how your organization is working with health tech and what you hope to hear from the pitches today? So we'll start with Ebba and then we'll come to you, Marcus. But first, Ebba, what are your thoughts?
So Smile Incubator is a life science business incubator. We support life science entrepreneurs with the business advice, network of investors, network to the industry, and network to caregivers. And we do this by a team of people that have 300 years full of life science experience. And by that way, we can actually be the extended management team of a very small startup. So this is what we do. And it's been very successful over the years. We've been able to support the companies in attracting a lot of capital, which of course is needed because this is evidence-based therapeutics. So there's a roadmap that's quite complex at a lot of times. I hope to hear some new, really exciting things. I hope to see where we can support, and I really like to see can we be of support? Can Medicon Valley Alliance be of support? And can BII be of support to help these organizations to reach their goals, reach their markets, get the capital, and actually, in the end, serve the people.
Fantastic. Marcus, what about Bioinnovation Institute? How do you work with health tech, and what do you hope to hear from the pitches today?
I mean, we're also an incubator. In addition to the same functions that Ebba mentioned, we also fund both very early stage startups. So we would like to be the first non-soft funding source. And we also fund translational research projects. We have currently active in health tech primarily in our pre-commercial research projects. We have a couple of projects running, and we have launched focused on health tech this year. So next year in our open calls for startup companies, we're hoping to see a lot of health tech, including digital therapeutics.
Really good, Marcus. And I think it's very clear that companies based in Medicon Valley get a lot of great support from incubators like Smile Incubator and BII, regardless of whether in Denmark and Sweden. So please reach out to Marcus and Ebba if you wish to find out more. But without further ado, we're going to go into our pitches shortly. And I want to encourage again the audience online. If you have questions you'd like to pose to our speakers, please go into slido.com, enter the event code HTMV. The details should be under the description in Vimeo or in the chat in Zoom. So now I'd like to invite our very first pitching company for this challenge. And we actually have Beth Wolf, Chief Commercial Officer at Brain Plus, who will be joining us online. And she will be presenting to us on a presentation titled Treating and Preventive Brain Orders Through Digital Therapeutics. Over to you, Beth.
Yes. Hi, good morning. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Perfect. Okay, I'll share my screen here. So thank you for inviting us to speak today. At Brain Plus, we are focused on, oops, now my presentation is not moving. Just a moment. Just a second. Okay. Oh, for some reason, if I put it in the screen sharing mode, it won't, the presentation won't go further. So I'm sorry about that. I will then take it out of presentation mode and hopefully this will work.
Beth, sometimes you need to click on the screen to move it forward, but go with what you feel works.
Yeah, okay, now it seems to be working. Okay,
Perfect.
Can you see my screen?
Yes,
progressing?
you see it well.
Great, okay. So we'll jump to the first slide here. Our mission at Brain Plus is to create an unrivaled digital product suite for people and their caregivers living with dementia. We at Brain Plus have a history within cognitive training, and in brain injury is where we are selling right now, but our focus is coming more and more to dementia, especially Alzheimer's within dementia, and I'll go into that, why that is. Right now, the problem that we're trying to address, and this is where we really are going forward within dementia, is just the number of people predicted to have dementia in the future. So 150 million people by 2050 are projected to have dementia globally, and currently the standard of care is not adequate. The cost is predicted to be about $3 trillion by 2030 alone. What we believe is that digital solutions can lower the cost of care and increase access right now in a market where many people who have dementia, and it has gone on to a stage of Alzheimer's, are treated at home. They're treated by family members. They might be treated by other caregivers who aren't necessarily equipped for treating someone with dementia. So it is a lonely disease to have, and it is a high burden for the caregivers. And we hope that the digital space can actually add new ways of therapies that haven't existed before. What makes us different is that we are looking to create a platform. Currently, we work on prevention, so we do have a series of games we sell now, which are on cognitive training. This is looking at how can you maintain brain functions in various areas such as attention, in memory, in logic, and also working on brain health in general, such as stress management, sleep management, and basically just healthy lifestyle changes or adoption that will hopefully keep the brain healthy and working. We also are developing, or we have developed, a product for detection of Alzheimer's. I'll go into that a little bit later because we have trials ongoing with that. And we have developed also a treatment for Alzheimer's and dementia, and we just have some exciting data out about that, which I'll go into. So we believe that our competitive advantage in this space is that we are looking to be a platform. We are gamified, so we're fun, engaging. Someone's not supposed to think that they actually are treating themselves when they use our platform, and it can be used at home or in clinic. The opportunity, the cost of care for dementia in EU and US in 2020 is already at $600 billion. We as a digital therapeutic, of course, will take only a certain portion of that space, which we are now projecting at about $21 billion currently. And so our long-term ambition within the space is a $5 billion that would be the accessible market. And then we would see what part of that 5 billion we could take based on the platform that we have. We do have a clinical development pipeline, as we heard before. These are evidence-based products. We believe very heavily in the fact that we do need to have good data that we generate. Right now, the top trials we are running and are in completion are through a Horizon 2020 project that we have been involved in for the past 2 years. We are working with Oxford University on a method, and that's the detection method. They developed a detection method for detecting Alzheimer's disease at a stage when the person actually is considered still a healthy adult, and the results are showing positive indications that the method is as predictive as a brain scan to determine which level of progression of the disease the person has. We are also then running studies with a university here in Denmark, but also in London, which has a digitalized, we have digitalized a method called cognitive therapy, stimulation therapy, which is a treatment method then for dementia. So it's someone who's already been diagnosed, potentially has already gone through face-to-face or group therapy, and is now looking to have a digital platform that they can use with their caregiver at home or with a therapist that will continue to keep the person engaged and will hopefully optimally delay the onset or the progression of the disease. So these are the two main studies that we are looking at, and we will then continue to, funding provided, we will then continue to build our clinical platform. We are a team in the management team, we are 5 people. I have a background in pharmaceuticals, the classic usual suspects, as one could say, here in Denmark, but I also was lucky enough to work with the first digitalized therapy launched in the United States, and I looked on how we could do that here in Europe. Our CEO, Kim, he comes with many, many years of business management experience and also health innovation. The co-founder, who is our CPO, also has a great background within startups and launching companies and making a success out of new innovations. Our R&D director, Simon, has a strong background in neuroscience and working within the field. And then we have a business development manager, Brian, who also is an entrepreneur within the digital health space. We also have a strong board of directors of a mixture of biotech and health tech. We also work with strong advisors that we have from our Horizon 2020 projects and the other grants that we have gotten. Traction to date, we've gotten 4 million in funding from Danish grants, 5 million from the European Union, and we do have sales here at the Kommune. We have our latest awards is part of innovation labs in the United States, and we also have exciting data that was just announced yesterday, where our platform for treatment has shown a positive MMSE score of 2.3 points for those using our platform. So right now we are selling to the municipalities, but we look to expand to the United States and get more into the insurance and reimbursement market. And we are looking for a new round of funding where we will then use that money to do further clinical research and further our launch into the United States and then further product development. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Beth, for a really good presentation. Marcus, do you have a question for Beth?
Thanks, Beth. Very nice pitch, very also clear on what you're looking for. The usual question, reimbursement. If you're going in the US, how do you see that shaping up? I mean, nowadays some people have brought products to market, and I guess the regulatory route is more clear, at least some possible routes, but what about reimbursement?
I mean, the reimbursement is, it is a challenge, I know, from the companies that I've worked with over there. You can get a code. So there is a openness and willingness from the insurance companies to actually reimburse, but some of the challenges is getting the money. So I think slowly but surely the United States is opening up. They are creating reimbursement codes. The insurance payers are getting more and more familiar with it. So we feel that if we meet the requirements they have in terms of the data and the efficacy, and especially real world evidence, is extremely important in the United States. They want to see that it actually works outside of just your trials. That is a high condition that they have been giving digital therapeutics. Then we hope we can also be reimbursed like as well. The Achille product that was mentioned before, and the ADHD, and Pear Therapeutics has also done a good job of that. So we believe we can do it.
Beth, we also have a question from the audience. And the question is, are you targeting a specific age group with your solution? And can that age group handle a digital solution via their smartphone, for example? The digital literacy of your target group. What are your thoughts there?
Right. Within dementia, you usually are in an more elderly, I guess you could say, age group. Dementia often starts from 50 years on. And then when you get into the more advanced stages of Alzheimer's, you're probably looking at a 60 to 70-year-old. The data show that as we are aging in general as societies, also people who are now getting into that group are familiar with technology. They've had smartphones for many years. There's a high level of just casual gaming, you could say, by that segment, that population. And what we really have to work out and look out for is the ability for someone with dementia to actually handle games, because you get a fatigue, you get, you're already in a potentially a confused state. So we do have to make sure that we make the games in a way that is also able to be responsive to them. But in terms of the technology, I think there's a more and more familiarity with that age group. So we're not worried about the technology itself. It's just more how do we then put the games so that we don't fatigue or we can't keep the people engaged.
Okay, great. Thank you so much, Beth. And thank you, Marcus, as well. We'll come back to the both of you again later on in this session. But I would like to move to the second pitch for today. We have Vishal Sisodia, CEO and founder of Sumundo, here with us. And he will be presenting to us on Sumundo Therapeutics, digital health solution for prognosis, detection, and treatment of stress. So take it away, Vishal.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for inviting us for this event. I would like to present the digital solution that we have developed for stress, but eventually it could be targeted for different diseases, as I will talk during my pitch. So I am Vishal Sisodia, founder and CEO of Sumundo. And we have a solution for prognosis, detection, and treatment of stress. We are right now helping companies, B2B enterprises, insurance companies, for their employees, for their people, to make their life happier and healthier, and of course, stress-free. So some of the facts, around 300 million people are affected due to stress. And it causes a lot of work-related symptoms, like they have 22% of Danish workforce has symptoms of work-related stress, burnouts, and typically it costs $500,000 of cost in Denmark, and I'm sure this is same in Sweden. So we are putting this stress into the category of silent killers, because just like high blood pressure, diabetes, stress recedes into chronic stress and slowly get into depression. That's why we categorize as silent killers. So if I deep dive into what we are doing for detection, is based on heart rate variability. So just to differentiate between the variation in the heart rate is based on the time interval variations. So if you see on the left side, there is a ECG signal, and there is RR signals, and there is milliseconds gap between each beats. So we detect these parameters, which is on a micro level, and on the right side you can see the difference between a happy person and a stressed person. So this is what it can detect. And this is a technology being used for aeronautics space research. And we are bringing this technology to the common people, so that this could be utilized for people who are suffering with this stress. Just to give more description, can we get into the proper slide mode? Yeah, thank you. So if we see this graph, so as I have been saying, that we put this minor differences in the heart rate variability algorithm that we have developed, and then we show in a very easy format, which is color differentiation. So normal, elevated, high, and very high stress, which could be understood by anyone who's using smartphones these days or watches. And that makes people change their behavior. So they change their behavior, quit smoking, start drinking more water, taking walks, start doing exercises, yoga, and meditation. And this we do 24/7, right? So, and that's why we say prognosis, detection, and treatment, because we have 360-degree solutions. So it's a platform which is a combination of dashboard, app, and the watch that people use. And this platform could be used by clinicians, by HR executives, to see how their users are doing across the organizations. These are some of the screens we have put just to showcase. We have three exercises for treating, breathing techniques, music therapy, and guided meditation. And all these three techniques have scientific and validation significance in the product. And also we have stress measurement as I was showing based on HRV. So in future, we are also going to integrate sleep. Yes. So we are a medical product. We have class 1 certified product. And when we go for when we have completed our clinical trial that is going on right now for 126 subjects, then we will go for even class 2A, which is the highest in this category. This is a paper I co-authored for EEG signals, where we compared 16 brainwave signals to our technology. And results were 98% correlation with the technology that we have based on EEG signal. So which is highest ever results, and no one has done this EEG for stress using HRV. Key opinion leader Bo is supporting us, and he has supported us in clinical trial in his clinic, where we did a successful clinical trial for detection and treatment. This is our model, B2B. Right now, we are targeting B2B first model. Eventually, we start targeting into clinical, and consumer we have not launched yet, which we will launch somewhere in the next year. We have made a strategic partnership with Garmin so that this product could be used by existing hardwares, existing wearable devices. So they are not reliant on just our device. We also have a functional prototype, which we are using. And Salus-Mia is an alarm company in Sweden. We made a partnership with them. So now what we are looking for partners is patient association, insurance companies, healthcare companies who want to use our technology in collaboration with psychologists, doctors who want to augment their technology, augment their solution using our technology. So that's what we are looking for our partners and maybe future investors. We have done some projects with Grundfos along with the partnership with Danica Pension. We also made a program on TV for daycare center, where they used our watches and app for measuring stress, how it affects their daycare. So if less number of pedagogues affects their stress. And this program was telecasted on TV2 and on Danish radio. Yes, so these are our few companies and partners we are working. And some references I have given just for reference. I'm not going to go through. So thank you.
Very good. Thank you so much, Vishal. Ebba, I know you have a couple of burning questions for Vishal. Feel free to ask them.
Yes, actually you answered one, because one was about your medical class. So that answer came. Mm-hmm. I am a bit curious, because HRV is measured also by the Apple Watch, for example. So how do you differentiate yourself against the sleep apps, the meditation apps, the calmness apps that are available and protect your invention, your product?
So first of all, I would like to differentiate the consumer and Sumondo. Sumondo is based on evidence. So clinical trials is a medical app. It's not a regular app that has no medical evidence. So it has medical validation in place. Second, we are 360-degree platform. That means it's not just thousands of apps that you see on App Store, meditation, music or breathing, but it captures everything. So as you say, Apple Watch, but in a category of medical. Then if you combine Spotify in a category of medical, and then if you combine guided meditation, Headspace, or these famous apps, but again in the medical. And if you combine all these three aspects into one product, that's called Sumondo.
Excellent. Thank you. And a great presentation, by the way.
Thank you.
And just one short question from the audience. They're wondering as to, is your solution patent protected? And if so, where?
Yeah. So this solution is based on software or software algorithms. It is generally not advisable to have a patent on algorithm just on algorithm. So in future, we have planned for making a patent on the solution. That means on a whole platform, which is a combination of hardware, software, and dashboard. So we don't have a patent right now, but eventually we have a plan to go for patent the solution.
Fantastic, Vishal. And we will come back to you later as well in the discussion and Q&A. We want to thank you for your presentation.
Thank you.
And we would like to invite the third pitching company of today for this session. We have John Lampert, CEO of Spermosense. Vishal, you can take a seat, and John, you can join us. John will present on Spermosense, revolutionizing male fertility diagnostics. Sounds really exciting. Take it away, John.
Thank you very much for having me. It's a privilege to be here. And I'll start by trying to get the first slide. There it is. That was actually the second one. Okay, so Spermosense is developing a revolutionizing male fertility diagnostics, which will enable directing to the right IVF treatment. Today, infertility is really a global health issue, according to the WHO, and more than 56 million couples worldwide suffer from this, of which 50% are male, have a male factor. To deal with this, 3.2 million IVF cycles are performed annually around the world. And albeit that 500,000 children are born, which is wonderful, still the fact remains 2.7 million cycles fail. The success rate is about below 20%. In addition to this, the number of couples with infertility is rising, as we see an increase about 9.5% per year. Okay. Today, sperm is looked at from its physical properties only. Sperm count, morphology, motility, how they move, how they look. But normal-looking sperms does not mean good fertility. And today, there is really no way to determine sperm fertilization potential. Well, there is now, or actually we're developing. The solution is based on the finding 2014 on mice and 2018 on human oocytes, the Juno protein. The following is detected with our technology. It's detected if the sperm can bind to the outer matrix surrounding the oocyte called zona pellucida. It actually binds to, and it actually goes through and makes its way through to get to the membrane of the oocyte where Juno is. The second step is then to bind to Juno. So, Izuma-1 is the binding agent on the sperm, and Juno is the recipient, if you will. The technology is basically a hardware sensor whereby lab-on chips are evaluated in two ways. One chip with electrodes and a gold nanoparticle plated center, where on the one hand zona pellucida is placed, and another chip, Juno. Sperm samples are applied, and a reading is done, and within 30 minutes, the reading is completed, and then it can be completed to determine if there's a binding to Juno and to zona pellucida, one or both, or what. Based on this, a decision can be made where to go. So, tailoring treatment on fertilization potential is possible with our first product is called Juno Checked. So if there is a high fertilization potential, if there's a binding to both zona pellucida and Juno, go for standard IVF, where a oocyte is placed on a petri dish and sperms are dumped on top of them to see if fertilization occurs. If there is no strong binding to Juno, one can go to intracytoplasmic sperm injection, where one sperm is chosen and injected into the oocyte by use of a micromanipulator. So Why does this matter? Well, we will have reduced IVF treatment cycles as an effect that we will be knowing what we're doing. We'll minimize the hormonal treatments that women have to go through with acute and chronic side effects. And there will also be a significant reduction in the cost per treated couple, be it from the insurance providers or privately. At the end of the day, saves a lot and also allows for a lot more of the couples waiting in line could have access to the clinic. Less cycles, more new patients. The development and validation is going like this. Last year and this year, the proteins have been scaled up and the reader has been developed, prototyped, the sensor. In October this year, we got an interesting study was published from the University of Murcia in Spain, where they did a study on bulls where the predictability of fertilization by the use of Juno as a predictor showed 100% accuracy. So it's an amazing result. So it was very encouraging. At this time, we're planning our clinical trials. We're talking to Region Skåne and a reproductive medicine center in Malmö. So we'll see if we can actually get going, which we plan to do with clinical trials during 2021, where we will also do IVDR, so-called the CE mark procedure. We intend to have full commercial focus by 2022. So let's look at the IVF market and the reimbursement. There are 5,000 IVF clinics worldwide, but our target market is about 2,600. These 2,600 clinics carry a value of $20.5 billion US in costs per year, estimated to the end of 2020. If you extrapolate that into with an increase of 9.5 per year, you'll reach close to a little bit above, actually, $35 billion US by 2026. Noteworthy is also to see that, we'll go forward. And then 2 to 6 cycles are done per couple in different countries, and 64% is reimbursed of the market value. So our market approach will be to build a strong domestic market before we go international. We'll do the global expansion, but first when we have a back-to-back confirmation. Strategic partnerships and alliances, and we will have our own team of salespeople to really suggest and support the people on board. This is us, the core team, Kush Punyani, the co-inventor, our CSO, excellent Chemutai, who helps us keep order of everything, and Christian actually keeping the money where it should be. So I would like to thank you very much, and also end at the end say that we do have different partners here. We are proud members of Smile Incubator, of course, and we have been supported in different ways. And I would like to say thank you so much.
Thank you so much, John, for your presentation. Marcus, do you have some questions for John?
Thanks, John, for a very clear presentation. One sort of general question, what are you looking for at the moment? Is it investment? Is it something else, partners?
Both. We have a way forward for investments that we're looking at proceeding at this time. Partnerships, alliances, absolutely. We have not yet started actively reaching out, but I welcome companies or contacts who are either interested in forming an alliance for go-to-market and or another type of financial collaboration to contact me. We're open for that.
Great. We have room for one more question, Marcus, if you have one.
Yeah, I wanted to ask about so IVF clinics, from what I understand, there's a good opportunity, of course, in the market, but you also have a lot of clinics to reach out in terms of sales. Do you have any thoughts about that?
Well,
how expensive do you need a sales organization?
Well, you know, I was in the dental field before. They have like millions of dentists. Here we have like 2,700 clinics worldwide. I figure that's pretty manageable, if you will. Of course, that's with respect. We have to reach them. We have to make sure that we actually educate and train the dealers, partners, alliances in the right way, so they give our product the attention we want.
Very good. Thank you, John. Please remain on stage. We're going to continue the discussion. Vishal, can I invite you back on stage, and Ebba as well? And I believe that Marcus, you are continuing to connect online. But I know, Ebba, and of course Beth is there as well. But Ebba, I know you have a couple more questions you'd like to ask. Feel free to our pitching companies. Who would you like to address it to?
Yes, actually, I would like to address it to Sumundo, because I had a question when I was looking at your first target here, which is a company and managing the team. And is how do you deal with the integrity of the team when this is pretty personal information that you're looking at on that the board that you're looking at. So
I think it's a very important question, and we have also addressed it very documented way, where we are GDPR compliant, meaning we take privacy policy very seriously. We don't disclose this personal information with the hiring manager or HR unless it is a consent with the employee. Second, and most important, we don't display the names of employees. We just display the overall health of the department, instead of displaying personal data for one specific patient or one specific person. So if it is a clinic, of course, it makes sense for clinician to see the data. But for HR, there is no sense for looking at one specific person. So we display the marketing, the sales, and production kind of thing as overall. And then we take care of the privacy policy and consent and GDPR compliance.
Excellent, very clear. Thank you.
Very good. I actually have a question addressed to all our pitching companies, including you, Beth, online. Of course, one of the main, top of mind issues with any startup is financing. But if we put financing aside, what would you consider your biggest challenge working within digital therapeutics? And I would like you, Beth, to start us off. What is your biggest challenge with Brain Plus in that perspective?
Yeah. With us, it's probably the regulatory environment, because when you have a country like the United States, you've got a large market that has they're still working on their structure, but they're getting there. You've got Germany, which has a fabulous law, the DIGA. You've got France, who's also working on it. NICE has a very nice set of guidelines. But Europe is so fragmented, it's really becoming challenging for us to know where we can expand the best and the easiest. And so we really are looking at how can we get the right regulatory advice and look and see also, do we need to go necessarily down only the digital therapeutics route with the heavy regulation, or can we also sell a model where we would be used by private people in potentially a less regulated market? There's also a huge market available in our space for people who are willing to pay out of pocket. So we are that's probably right now the biggest question on our table is how can we maximize and get first traction, and then use that to build and go further into the clinical evaluation and the data, and also any type of economic evaluation.
Thank you, Beth. So regulatory environment, and especially the fragmented EU perspective. John and Vishal, do you agree, or do you have another big challenge on top of your minds? John?
Yeah, well, from my perspective, in addition to developing the product and get all the processes going as they're ongoing and having them finalized in a good way, my biggest challenge is actually that we develop the product so that the end user of the market really will embrace it. There's never a product that is so good that everybody will accept it. There's always somebody who's used to something else, whatever reason. So that's the biggest challenge I see for us. With all respect for the other challenges we have, we're going to conquer them, we believe, and we're going to work hard. But this is a challenge which is difficult to embrace. We need to really address it from different angles.
So engagement or acceptance by the end user.
Correct.
Vishal, what about you?
So we have challenge of getting adapted into a municipal, for example, which is a very large sector for our sake, but it is also very sluggish response point of view. So they have difficulties in adopting new technologies like us, digital technologies. They are not so much advanced in terms of adopting wearable devices that we use. So we have to come up with those challenges, and hopefully we are getting there.
So adoption by the public sector and municipalities being one customer group. So Emma, Ebba and Marcus, since you both work so much with startups on a daily basis, and I'm sure this is familiar, what would be your advice to the startups to address these three challenges: regulatory environment, engagement acceptance by end users, as well as adoption by the public sector? Maybe let's start with Marcus. What is your perspective there?
Yeah, that's a lot of questions. And if I had the answers, I'd be probably in a very good place. In terms of the regulatory environment, I think this is indeed a challenge for a startup in Europe. And I think our biggest hope is that we do get some traction from the German new legislation, which is indeed excellent. And given Germany's leadership role in European ecosystem, I think that is probably a pretty good wish. And that would actually put us ahead of US, because we would have both some regulatory framework and reimbursement framework. So I think this is something that definitely all the players in this ecosystem need to do, in terms of trying to do some lobbying and appropriate nudging at the European level. And I hope also that will come through government. So we're not super active on that ourselves, but I think whatever way we can push this is really important.
And in the Nordics, that would be great to do that, because I think we also are really lacking that in the Nordics. So just adopt what Germany has done. Done.
Right, yeah. I think, but it's so good to see this example, because before that, I think it didn't look good at all. At least from where I stand, it looked very difficult to do business in Europe. Regarding the other challenges, adoption, that depends, of course, a lot on the product. And therein comes an interesting dilemma for a product that's maybe digital. Should one go for direct to consumer and take kind of the Apple or Fitbit route and just get consumers? But you need a fairly active sales organization for that, and some way to get enough consumers, and then sort of build the traction. And whether that actually dilutes from your more regulated approach is something that I think is still being worked out. So I think it depends a little bit on what is the approach, what is the access to market or the go-to-market approach.
Yeah. And so, Ebba, perhaps I'll let you have the final word. So Marcus has tried to address some really important challenges. What are your thoughts? You agree? Do you have another solution?
I would say, as to the regulatory, there are a lot of innovation agents that are publicly funded in the area. So take support. Adoption is difficult, because if you do go the consumer route, there is a risk of diluting your brand when it comes to trying to get into the public healthcare system. So there's a challenge there. Is your trustability if you're a consumer app and then you want to be a healthcare solution, a therapeutics. So I think that's a bit challenging. So adoption there is hard. When it comes to the public space, the actual payers, this is really difficult, and I know there is sluggish, you said. I agree. But I do think we are right now in a perfect storm, because actually what COVID-19 brought is the most rapid adoption of digital therapies, of remote monitoring that we have seen. And now it's been tested. It's hard to go back. So I think that is the opening right there. Otherwise, I would say engage early. But it's hard. I don't have. If I had the golden recipe for that, I say as Marcus, I would be, I don't know, I would probably be here, but I would have 10 companies. It's difficult.
Yeah. And I think we will continue the conversation. Obviously, it's a lot of challenges to be overcome, but also a lot of opportunities. So I want to thank you, Ebba, John, and Vishal, as well as Beth and Marcus online. We will continue the discussion among the challenge owners later today at 12 o'clock. So please stay tuned for that.